of a nice day, just windy and allergy season here in Oklahoma. Where are you located?
I'm actually located in Illinois, the Quad Cities, right on the Mississippi River, just across from John Deere headquarters.
Awesome. Okay, well, you're that type of lady we like to meet and talk with. Okay, can you state your full name, your occupation? What is your, it has to be an actual passion in agriculture, I always like to say for us women.
Definitely a passion, and I think I can demonstrate that the conversation. But my name is Darlene Knipe.
Okay.
I am the director of the National Food and Ag Market Maker program, and I am a principal in the Global Food and Ag Network, which manages the technology for the program.
Awesome. And is this like you said, the food marketing program?
Food Market Maker. It's basically a digital resource for farms and businesses that want to connect within the food and ag supply chain.
Awesome. So is it a nonprofit, for-profit, or?
So this is where Market Maker is very unique. This was actually a University of Illinois extension project 20 some years ago. Okay. And so it's a public-private partnership. It's a collaboration of organizations all over the country, NGOs, .govs, some for-profit, and the company that manages the technology, of which I am a principal, is a for-profit. But I can say personally that it is a very mission-driven initiative.
Awesome. This is phenomenal. We are very, very thankful. You were introduced to us by the USDA, Jamie Woods. We are very appreciative. Our advisory council, we have, when I say we, National Women in Agriculture, our headquartered team, headquartered in Oklahoma City, with the collaboration of our chapters across the United States, from Florida to California. A group of us have come together and developed a Trump administration advisory council for farmers, for all farmers.
Wow.
And yeah, we feel that we have a solution by connecting with organizations like yourself, to make sure that all farmers have a genuine, prosperous opportunity as being prosperous in the agricultural area, especially right now with the tariff situation. We have, like I said, different chapters, several chapters in one state, a total of 63 nationwide and 24 overseas. So we're busy. However, we were ignored by the last couple of administrations, but we feel that this administration is going to be different just by what President Trump is stating, what happened in the other administrations, if you will. We were that large group of farmers across the nation that were left out. We were not included in any of the big sums of monies that were given out: rescue plan, climate control, Inflation Act. Now, something's wrong, and that's what we're like, very respectful of what he's saying, that we could be of assistance to farmers by collaborating and working with groups like yours. So
great. Well, we love to work with organizations like yours as well. I think we're like-minded in terms of our mission and our objectives. So this is a great opportunity to get acquainted. Thank you.
Likewise. Well, we're going to let you just get in and just start educating on what you have to offer. And as you can see, we will be streaming live. And we could go up to several numbers. We have someone pushing from the back on several of our social media platforms, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
That's how we connect with a lot of people. So we could just jump into it, Ms. Knight, and please educate us.
Oh, sure. So I guess the first thing I need to do, I did bring up a few PowerPoint slides, if I could share those. And
she gave you rights? Yeah.
I'm not real sure. Is it under present? I uploaded.
Let me see. Tay, do you have that? Let me see where she's at. Now you're getting out of you should have.
I can click on, there we go.
Okay.
It's easier than I thought. I thought. So I talked a little bit about what Market Maker is, but it's you know, I wish I had a real short elevator speech for it, but it's something it's kind of a complicated situation where we've taken technology and we've used it in a lot of different creative ways to connect farms and businesses with each other and with markets and markets with them. One of the things I want to emphasize that I think is real important to understand is it's free. because one of our goals is to basically make this some sort of an infrastructure that gives more people more market access. And the other thing that's a hallmark of this program is that we network with partner organizations all across the country. And that's pretty much how Market Maker has managed to evolve and grow. So, as a result, we have this very large database of detailed information on farms and food-related businesses. Now, this is information they're sharing with us, but what we're doing is we're putting them all on the map. We're putting them on the map so they can find one another. And, more importantly, it also, by having them on the map, it helps in a lot of other ways. Policy, for one thing, strategic planning, building local food systems. So we're serving a dual purpose. We're helping the businesses and the farms and the markets find each other, but then we're also, that information then becomes a real important resource for those people that are trying to strengthen the food and ag supply chain. So a little bit of history. We've been doing this for a while. Market Maker was actually started as a program with University of Illinois Extension in 2004. And there were several years leading up to that where we were kind of trial and erroring through the process. It was driven by a situation at the time. I was with Extension in small business development and market development. I was partnering with my husband and a number of faculty and staff. His area was working specifically with livestock producers. And at that time, technology was not really a strong resource for farmers because bandwidth and access was always an issue. But we knew somewhere that technology could help those farmers develop new markets. And at that time, commodity prices were not very good. So we were looking at small family farms really at risk, really being threatened. And so we thought, those farmers that were willing to be entrepreneurial, willing to diversify, look at new markets, could we develop a technology solution that would help them be able to reach or access those markets not only more efficiently, but with less resources than some of the larger competitive organizations. So our partner organizations help support us both financially and programmatically. We have a lot of extension programs out there using this as a resource, a lot of NGOs. It's been a really evolving network and community of users and supporters. And a lot of our support has come from universities, Farm Bureau, Farm Credit, USDA, Farmer Veteran Coalition, state departments of ag. It's just a very long list of organizations that have helped that have helped build and develop Market Maker. But I think one of the more unique things is that we started this at University of Illinois Extension, but 22 other land grant universities have partnered to develop this. So it really is a public-private partnership. So what we do, and when I say we, I use that term liberally because the individual farms and businesses create profiles. This is the information they want people to know about them. It's not just where they are, what the products are, but what makes them unique, what I call the comparative or competitive advantage in the marketplace. It could be something like, a values-driven situation. They could engage in sustainable practices, or they're certified organic, any number of characteristics that they can identify. And then we've set up a system where they can be searched and found. It's a network of national and state market maker sites that look very similar. If you go to foodmarketmaker.com, that takes you to the national site, but they're all linked together. And that's the important thing to know, is that we're a network of networks. So we have state sites. We have a number of state market maker sites in addition to the national site. But, and you can see we're mapping a large number of farms and businesses, and you can get detailed information on them. It's a pretty robust system. You can embed a store in your profile. So if you have shelf-stable products and have a store, you can link that as well. So we do engage in e-commerce. It's a marketplace as well as a networking place. And then we have what we call a buy-sell form, where if you don't have, if you have real-time product that may not be available year-round, you can just do a one-time post. It's really a great place for seasonal products. It's also a place for buyers to come when they're looking specifically for product. This isn't just for B2B, business to business, but consumers can get in there and use it as well. Again, it's all free to find one another. And there are also services and equipment. It's a pretty broad system, and it's a great way to get product out there and to access markets. As part of Market Maker, if you're interested, you can set up notifications where you may only be interested in a particular product that's local. And if somebody does have that product available, that information can then be sent to you as well. So we have this internal trade notification system. One of the other features, and this plays in with a lot of what we're doing with other partner organizations, is we're making it easier for farms and businesses to donate to food banks and food assistance programs. So it's really helping us reach some of these underserved communities. So again, this is part of where our mission becomes very important, because we want to maximize the profitability of some of these farmers that are pursuing new and emerging markets, but we also want to make fresh, healthy food more accessible as well. You can see if you do a search in Market Maker that you'll notice that there's branding going on. So in this example, you've got farmers that are a member of Farmer Veteran Coalition, Buy Fresh, Buy Local, Homegrown by Heroes. That's how we connect and network with our partners. So we not only promote their organizations within our Market Maker platform, but we allow the farms and businesses that are part of our Market Maker system and have accounts to opt into directories that are featured by each of these organizations as well. So we're networking and connecting all of these organizations, and they have the underpinning is that a single account from an individual farmer business can populate marketing directories, and they can opt into marketing directories all over the country. So it really does exponentially maximize their market opportunities. And it's good for the organizations as well, because they want to bring value to their members. And by being part of this network, one of the things we offer is very low cost technology, and it's all synchronized. They all talk to one another. So one account, many opportunities for outlets.
Awesome. This is phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. It's like I said, it's been 20 some years and it's always evolving. And we learn a lot from our partners where the needs are. A good example, one of our partners is Homegrown by Heroes, Farmer Veteran Coalition, and they're building their network. And for those who are listening that are, veterans and farmers, that's also an organization that's really worth looking into. Similar mission to get those market opportunities in the hands of the farmer veterans and vice versa.
We would love to figure out how National Women in Agriculture can get into this. Our association definitely needs this.
Yeah, I was so excited when we found out that we'd have an opportunity to interact with you, and I read a little bit about the organization, and I just feel like it fits in so well. Your stakeholders are really the kind of stakeholders that our organization and our network would like to see supported. So, and AgMark is an example of a website that's USDA supported. I mentioned that we work closely with them. That's another great resource, Ag Marketing Resource Center. It's actually based out of Iowa State, but it's supported by USDA Rural Development. And one of the things Market Maker does as part of our partnership with them is that with all of the rich marketing information that website provides, there's also dozens of directories that show you how to find producers of those products. That is powered by Market Maker. So again, you start to see how this whole network spider is a spider web that where everything's connected, and really the farm and the business has an element of control about where they would like to see their information shared.
Okay, this is awesome.
Yeah, I don't want to, and it's also worth mentioning that because of this network and because we're technology driven, we now have the ability to build what we call these spin-off apps. So this is an example of a project. It's called What's in Season. It's for consumers, but depending on where you are, you can get on this app and it'll tell you what product is available at that particular time of year, and it will link to the farms, businesses, and farmers markets that Yeah, and it's all linked to the zones. So it's, it's definitely when the products are supposed to be in season. We've developed something similar. We're in the process of developing something and launching something similar with Central State University in Dayton, Ohio, that is specifically for cut flowers. Because as you know, the cut flower industry, a lot of those are small growers, a lot of women in the cut flower industry. So this is an app we've been developing to really help give consumers better access to their products as well. And this is an example of what that app looks like when you're doing a search. This is Honey, another partnership where they're providing educational information around those products. So you start to see how every partner contributes in some way. I call it stone soup. We start with something basic and everybody brings their strengths to the table. I mentioned before that there's the ability to do e-commerce. We now have just recently developed what we call buy-sell plugins. So if individual organizations want to have their own marketplace, we can help support that as well. And that's another example where if somebody has an ad, takes out an ad, that ad could show up in multiple places. We just recently launched it with Illinois Department of Ag with their branding program, their Illinois products program. And we're really excited to scale that as well. So this is I call it the dandelion model. This is really how we operate. We networks. Some of those organizations are hyper-local. We have county-based organizations. Some of them are national, but the common denominator is that we're providing access to technology that really helps all of these organizations connect with one another. And we're building market intelligence that really helps the farms and businesses make better business and marketing decisions.
This is exactly what we've been needing.
Well, thank you.
We have literally been needing this within the women in agriculture. Just, for women in general, trying to make sure they have access and ways to push their products out, if you will, and be able to market their farms, but having like a support system that could, and we're not, how would I say, I wouldn't say tech savvy. We don't have the capacity to do that. So this is something that, we've been wanting to have in order to help women, again, to start networking with other women and just bringing them all together and be having the actual resource center, if you will.
Well, and really that was a lot what we were thinking. Originally, I was in extension. I worked, I worked directly with individual small businesses and farms. And it became apparent to us that, there are organizations that do that extremely well. They're advocating for their stakeholders, but it spreads you kind of thin when you're wanting to expand into things like developing technology or even trying to build that national marketing presence. So we're kind of a cooperative in a way. We're not only a cooperative for the farms and businesses that are part of this network because they can connect with one another. That's part of what we make available, but allowing the organizations to really, to do what they do best and yet kind of fall back on some of the things that we're willing to do to help them in their missions.
Falls right in alignment with what we want to try to do to help the Trump administration, just in general, especially right now, because everyone's scared, food prices are going up, and this would be a neat way to have some type of network system. Of course, we've wanted the Women in Agriculture app to come out where we could have those different resources on there, to help build out the different businesses, if you will. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah, and I hope I do think it fits in well with a lot of their initiative because this really is a market-based solution. It's public and private, and so I think it checks off a lot of boxes for what I think is a healthy, sustainable system to help advance and help farms and businesses become more profitable. It should be a win-win.
Okay. I really think so. And I'm looking forward to how we could connect and get this thing going because this is neat. This is really neat.
Thank
believe
you.
I haven't heard about it. Okay.
Well, it's because we need more opportunities like this to be able to get the word out. I think we sometimes get comfortable working with the organizations that we've been working with for, maybe the past 20 years. But every time I find out there's an organization out there doing things like what you're doing, I get excited because I realize we still have a lot of territory to cover. I mean, right now, in terms of traffic and activity across, there's we have about 40,000 people that are signed up and participating within the system that have actual profiles, we call them.
Okay.
But they're visited, last year, 750,000 times those profiles were visited across the platforms. And those 40,000 profiles, when those individual farms and businesses create accounts, there's 135 different domains where they could potentially opt in to be part of a directory. So you start to see the power of the people and connecting them all. And we're just using technology to make it a lot more efficient. There's over 1,000 products featured in Market Maker. And on a weekly basis, 5,000 product searches are conducted a week across all of our platforms.
Nice. Have you all gotten into any type of grant solicitation or having a platform? Because the ultimate goal for our organization, or for me, if you will, is to become a grant funder of some sort. Even with right now, we have a bill pending that hopefully it'll be bipartisan here any day. But what it would do, it would allow our organization to be able to give micro grants or grants to different organizations, if you will, or farmers that are connected to youth. Primarily, reason I say youth is because we want to make sure we're developing new farmers at an early age, at junior high or even younger. Definitely going forward, we want to make sure that we are developing new farmers. That's one of my main missions to bring to the forefront, because the farmers are getting older. The interest is not there in a lot of the communities. However, we have an innovative way of making that happen. So that's kind of one of the areas that I'm looking forward to connecting with the organization to figure out an avenue, as well as receiving some advocacy on our behalf with our bill to, get resources in. So there's like a grant, because I get asked a lot. I want a grant. I want to get started, blah, blah, blah. However, we have criteria and things that we help some farmers, but still that's part of the issue. There's no funding for individual farmers.
So this is where, as you're saying this, the wheels are turning in my mind. This is where there are organizations that we work with that probably would be really good collaborators along this line. Okay. And so that's, one of the things we do is provide digital and technical support. But I think if you were to talk to the organizations we work with, they would say probably the thing that they most value is the networking opportunities, because it's amazing, how many, there are a lot of people that are trying to, sort of nibble around the edges in terms of building a better system. But like I said, when it comes to pairing people that have different strengths, it really helps reach some of these goals. And I love the idea that you're talking about working with young people. I think that's really important. There's a lot of community-based organizations that are part of Market Maker. And I think, they would see this as an opportunity, to be able to connect with you in some way. I know we went to a conference in Springfield, Illinois. We have because this started in Illinois, we have a pretty big footprint in Illinois. And it was it's the Everything Local Conference. Farm Bureau is the sponsor of it. But I had an opportunity to talk to a woman, and she just did this kind of on her own. She's a farmer, but she started a project or an effort where she was involving local youth in growing products. So they're learning the process. But the idea is that then she worked out arrangements with local food pantries. So the whole purpose was to increase, to be able to increase access to fresh products for local food pantries. But it was a great experience for the kids. And it was really impressive how much she's been able to gain momentum. And so now she's looking at that model with neighboring communities as well. So, there are a lot of groups out there. And in her case, she wasn't part of necessarily a formal organization. This was something that she just decided she wanted to do on her own.
Nice. Well, we have to hire teenagers. That's part of our structure. When they are from 16 years old all the way through 18, our goal is to make sure that they have a job, an after school job, helping us grow food in the community. And with that, that the actual caveat is that they have to make good grades, which in essence serves as a recruiting agent to colleges. That helps them with scholarships. It's that we partner with schools, make sure that we get the children in, or the young people, I should say, youth in, to help grow the food and produce, but also introduce them to, agribusiness careers, where especially in underserved communities, they don't even get just a glance at what is potential, their potential is in agriculture. So that is some of the things that we do that really helps with, I should say, solutions in the food industry, as well as recruiting for colleges, developing new farmers. At the same time, we are eradicating food desert issues by growing, locally grown foods. The farmers making money, we do that. And I say pair them. We even have the children work for some of our farmers on the farms. That's some of the things that we're wanting funding for, is to help the farmers to become prosperous by
That's
utilizing
awesome.
these young people.
Yeah, for sure. And there certainly are no shortage of careers in agriculture. I think people
Yeah,
have a narrow view of what food and ag is all about.
very
And,
much.
you have to think creatively. I mean, I don't sit on a tractor, but I'm very much engaged and passionate about what's going on in food and ag. And I think, especially, I teach sometimes workshops, and I taught a class last week, a couple weeks ago, with college students. And there are a lot of kids that haven't grown up on farms that
Right.
really, are kind of instinctively now gravitated to food and ag because it is very important,
Mhm.
and I think they see it as sort of a social passion for them. And I think that's great when you see that kind of motivation and you see kids want to get involved. I mean, that's how you grow the movement, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's sustainable because it'll keep getting passed down to their children because they're younger, and it's just a way of life. But getting the right people, like you said, through your network, I think is so, so important. Just this, I had no clue about such a system as networking and market maker. It's phenomenal because again, that taps into another area that our young people could see, like, this is how agriculture has evolved. So don't be thinking just a tractor and old man out there on the tractor doing some things. It's this is a huge market. So,
Yeah, and I think I think the other thing that people don't always understand, we do have kind of a stereotypical view of what the typical farmer is. And don't get me wrong, there's a need for everybody. I mean, that's the whole
exactly.
thing. There is such a need, and broad enough that there can be a role for pretty much anyone. And so
Anyway,
the idea is that, yeah, if through networking and working with all these different organizations, we're able to um, help move along that process where they can actually be actively engaged.
mhm.
It's great. I enjoy working with young people
Oh,
on
that's my
things like this because they're so idealistic.
most definitely. That's the exact word, idealistic. And it's not a hard lift because most adults are set in their patterns. They have their routines. They know what it's just it's not healthy to not work. It's unhealthy to not work with you. That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah,
But I'll
really.
let you get back to your presentation.
Well, let me see. So I mentioned that we're a network of networks. This is an example of an in-state network, and that's one of the things we're trying to do is to find network organizations within states, because then we think we can, you can really strengthen market development within a state as well. And one of the things it's doing is eliminating data silos. I mean,
Mhm.
I knew from experience, my background is in business. I knew the advantage that market intelligence gave larger companies. And if we can use this network in some way to take that market intelligence and put it in the hands of small and emerging businesses, it
Mhm.
levels the playing field.
Yes, it does.
Um, yes, and so we're not only just bringing data in that is shared amongst the different businesses, but we're bringing demographic data in. We're bringing data from USDA in so that it helps them make informed decisions. And that's why, we started out as one site 20 years ago, and our goal has simply been to make that dandelion model to grow and evolve and get more organizations involved like yourselves. So, I mentioned before that we work with a lot of different USDA organizations. You can see that because we have all this data, not only from the farms and businesses, but we're also bringing in governmental data. We have the ability to do these maps. And here's an example. It's the citrus supply chain map. We did this in collaboration with Economic Research Service, also with USDA, but it had to do with understanding citrus greening, which if you're all over the country, you realize what an issue it is for citrus growers in Florida specifically. So you begin to see that, market maker on one level is very much creating that handshake between the business or the farm and the market opportunity. But, we're trying to, we're in the long game too, where there's a lot of strategy and policy making that needs to be done to make food and agriculture healthy. This is just an example. You can get in there, anybody can get in and build maps or play around with the mapping data. So, and I think I've mentioned I'm just to recap a little bit, what I told you before is, we're supporting 135 different domains, 750,000 profile views in 2024. So that's a lot of eyeballs on these small businesses that normally wouldn't be discovered. Some awesome, unique products that people aren't aware of. I mean, I would encourage anyone to go in there and do a little searching because, that's the one thing that I've discovered is, you've got these small farmers that are creating sometimes almost a one-of-a-kind product in terms of quality even. And, they're good at growing it. So we want to be good at getting that message out to folks. Exactly. So that's kind of what we're about. I can exit this if I can figure out how to do that. Do I just need to click on this or?
750,000 profile views. That's amazing.
Yeah. And that was just last year, but, and then right after COVID, it was probably,
I'm sure
that because everybody was trying to find product wherever they could find it. Nice. I think during a lot of these weather events where all of a sudden there's some disruption in food products, again, the fact that you can find something local, but also find something in another part of the country can be real helpful. Oklahoma's, when they deal with tornadoes and there's, disruptions, your livestock need forage or whatever, there's a way to find it. We're trying to, that building that communication network is good for everybody.
So how do we get as far as an organization with the chapters across? How do we get involved? I mean, how do we get connected, signed up with this?
Well, I think that's the easy part. So I think the first thing we want to do is we can make you one of those affiliations. We can make you one of those affiliations and start to feature your program on our site. And then the idea is that we can get some of those members signed up. Again, it doesn't cost anything. It's free to get them signed in. And then what we can do is eventually, if you get enough of those women and their farming operations, if they can build up those profiles, then that also gives us information that we can use to build your own directories or your own buy and sell forum. And then beyond that, once you're involved, we would love the opportunity for you to talk a little bit about what you do, but to even meet some of the other organizations that might be good partners in this.
Well, Miss Darlene, you got the right woman, and I'm so excited. I'm going to be reaching out to you. Hey, next week for sure we can get started as far as starting with headquarters and branching out, because I have here, even our farmers here, there's a beef cattle then. They run beef cattle. So that's one of the groups. And of course, from Florida, we have our orchards down there. We all over in California, we have different growers. But I really, really want to get involved. Do you have anything else to add to the show? I just appreciate you coming on, sharing this information. It's so timely.
Well, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity and tell everyone, if you're listening and you have a farmer business, please get in there and create a profile. Like I said, it's free, and it's foodmarketmaker.com.
and her name is Volante, but I call her Tay. She could put it on there and like make sure we get it promoted out there. And it will also be streaming live even after we end for a few days, and then it goes up in our YouTube profile, so it's there as well. But I want to make sure that as many farmers as possible know about this. This is phenomenal. It's like a marketing tool that all farmers need to connect to. If they want to, provide their or push their crops out or whatever they would like to get out to people to become prosperous. This is something, again, it aligns with our initiative for our Trump administration advisory council. What we're trying to do is trying to help farmers receive resources, market their products. Again, it's so timely with what you brought to the forefront.
Well, thank you. Thank you for getting the word out, and sign us up, because we think what you're doing is a good, important thing.
Thank you so very much. You just put your information out there. If that's okay with you, does that look okay?
Yes, that's my email address. And again, the URL for the site is nationalfoodmarketmaker.com.
Okay.
Or food market. Oh, gosh, I should know that, shouldn't I?
If you're like me, I'm real fuzzy today because, again, my allergies. I got back in state a couple of last night, and I'm still just kind of trying to pull it all together from when I get back in Oklahoma. My allergies go nuts again.
Yeah, I'd like to use that excuse, but sometimes I just have these mental lapses. But it's foodmarketmaker.com. So
that also. But again, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. And again, I thank Jamie Woods from OPPE with USDA. Again, as I tell people, it's a great day in ag to make that bag. So again, thank you very much, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.